Welcome back, everybody, to another War of the Visions video. Today we're going to be talking about Rulgia and whether or not you should be pulling for him. But before we get into the video, just a quick update on me. I am now free. Well, I mean, free is a weird way to put it because I enjoyed what I was doing, but my wrestling season is over. It means I have more time to make videos. So I hope to be putting out more videos for you all in due time. And also another update, I just got the strangest injury of my life. I'm currently having a lot of trouble walking around because I sprained my big toe. Yeah, you can sprain your toes apparently. So it's actually, like, I'm laughing. It's actually painful, but hoping to get that sorted out pretty quickly, because part of me being more free is I'm supposed to be able to, you know, go and enjoy myself. But right now I'm kind of hopping along my apartment and I'm going back to work tomorrow. So hopefully that all gets sorted out quickly. All right, so what's the deal with Rulgia? Well, he is a 100 cost semi-limited. He's a festival limited unit. He's a crystal warrior of earth, so 100 cost earth unit. And there are lots of earth units on the horizon because we have Bradley, and then now we know that there's another earth 100 cost unit coming out in JP as well. So tons of options for earth coming up, but there's lots of options in general for people. Lots of limited things like the Final Fantasy VII remake collab, the Full Metal Alchemist collab. So it's very difficult to actually say, well, I'm gonna stop here and spend my Visio on Rulgia. So he better be good. And if you're pulling for him, then you better be an Earth main at this point, because he is a very interesting unit. He's got a lot of pros. You know, some cons. Whenever you see these 100 cost units, there's always value. Like they're always decent units, but still, you know, that doesn't mean you have to pull for them. Like, for example, I mean, this is kind of a weird example, but I pulled Velis way later. Now that was somebody I could have or should have pulled right away, but you know, still had value down the line, and he will rerun. So something to keep in mind. So let's just do a quick speed run through his kit here and kind of make some decisions or some determinations about him. So he is a gun user, a lot of straight line shots, but he actually has 2 arcing shots, which we're going to see in a sec. And now his TMR, I actually really like that it gives protect and defense. It has 2 uses. I mean, there's likely better TMRs that you're using, but this is a very specific TMR that could be used in an anti-physical build, especially going up against people that cannot remove protect. If we look at his stats, I'll just say that he's very similar to Alaya. Like, he's right in line, you know, just above or just below her stats. So very, very similar there. And then in terms of resistances, the big one to look at here, or 2, I guess, is 1, that he has a high magic resistance, and 2, that he's very weak to pierce. So pierce is going to tear right through him. One other cool thing is if you're going to run him against ice, he is actually very resistant to frostbite, and that is a pretty annoying status effect. It's very good to know because he's also very good with AP. Like, he can generate AP. He's got AP consumption down innately, and he also has like initial starting AP boosts that on his kit, so he can actually do pretty well with AP without bells. And so it's nice that, you know, you're not going to get shut down by the frostbite matchup. So let's quickly rip through his kit here, and we can see the passives that Rulgia is going to have a lot of range, and that's because he gets 2 range from the ground combat sniper passive and then another from long range. However, that would be maybe a very map specific thing, because if you look at the martial arts of virtue, he gets AP from that, he gets accuracy, and he can decrease his own movement in order to stay back and out of danger, which is a really powerful effect. If you're new to the game and you don't know, there's a gift item that we got called the Producer's Bow Tie, which lowers your movement by 1, and it's pretty much a given on a lot of maps for units like Jaden, because they have 3 move innately. So these new units that can reduce their movement, that's actually clutch, and it opens up an equipment slot for you. So definitely really good to see. His counters are not that impressive. You know, the one, I guess, his own counter is the one you'd want to use because it's preemptive, because it has that chance of immobilizing immobilization, but overall there's nothing here that will really help his survivability, and that's something that I want to kind of draw attention to. I actually should also draw attention to the fact that the Dragoon passive here has healing power up, and that's actually kind of interesting given that he has regen on his kit and you can give that to your allies. So we'll see that in just a second here. So moving down, two big TP skills. There's the increase the range from the protection of earth, but it will also decrease your chance of being targeted. Again, good for survivability, which is important because he has no AoE or single target, no defense, no spirit, anything like that. His resistances aren't remarkable, so he kind of, his best chance of, you know, not dying is being out of the way because of his lower move and because he's not, you know, his decreased chance in being targeted. But he also has another TP skill called Soil Area. Yeah, that's a good one. And it grants regen to all of yourself and your allies. The range is pretty sick, and this is a very important buff for him because it gives him 40% defense penetration and then 20 AP on top of that as well. So this is really key. If he uses this, you know, right there, we're getting, I mean, what is that? Like 18, we're getting 18 AP plus 20 more, so 38 AP is AP consumption down, and then we're gonna hopefully use a second buff at some point. That's where you can see that he's not gonna have too much troubles with AP, but it's also very important because he doesn't have any innate defense penetration. So because of that, if he doesn't have this buff up, he's gonna have trouble against units with high defense, and that's certainly going to be an issue. Now, looking at the attacks here, there's a couple of really interesting ones. So the Untie Double, this is Dispels, Protect, and Shell. It decreases movement. It's a large damage. It's chaining skill. It's 2 hits, but also it is a projectile, you know, ooh, shoots it right over. Same thing with Amber Bomb at the bottom there, and that skill is very important because it enables that armature thing, the extra attack that Lightning has, that Noctis has, that basically, well, you know, once you attack somebody, then you hit them with a second attack. And we can go look at that really quickly because it is a physical hit here. It's called Explosion, and that's super important because what that does is it allows you to get past Courage, allows you to get past re-raise if you're dealing enough damage to pop those in the first place, which you might not be doing with Rulgia. That's kind of one of the cons, getting ahead of myself here. So otherwise, he has a lot of, you know, just regular projectile shots, which will be subject to that line of sight issue. He does have a little missile resist penetration here, or not penetration, imperil on his, you know, his kind of bread and butter shot, the break shot. So that's good to see. What's really interesting about his sub job is he has these skills. The Bullet of Grace heals somebody, and the Swift Bullet restores some CT. Now, the Bullet of Grace, he'll probably use that on like a guild battle too, but for playing on manual, these are really fun skills, and I really love to see that. However, you're likely going to be using this sub here, the sniper sub, and the reason is because you get the barrier break, and I think that's really important, but also it gives you a couple of other buffs for, like, you know, attack, but also more defense penetration. Now, those don't stack, but it just gives you a different option. I kind of like the regen myself. This would be a build where you don't want them to go to your party members, or you can't reach your party member, whatever it is. So you say to yourself, okay, well, you know, I'll use the sniper target instead, because it means that he'll, like, you know, go progress down the map or whatever it is. He also has the Dragoon sub, and this is really interesting because it gives him protect and an attack boost, but still, you know, I like the sniper sub a little bit more. And then finally, he's got a limit burst, which gives him an attack buff. It gives him an AP restore, so that's all really good. It's a 3-hit chaining skill, you know, and the range is fine and all, but at the end of the day, this isn't doing anything massive for his damage. And the example I'll give you is Alaya, who has a 38% ice imperil on her limit burst. So once she hits somebody with that, she also has a big missile resist penetration, or imperil as well, and she's got penetrations on her kit. All of those things together, she can really hit hard, but also she enables her ice counterparts to hit harder as well, whereas Rulgia does not do that. Let's talk now about Rulgia's pros and cons, and I think that there's quite a few pros. There's a lot of good things about his kit, and the first thing when we talk about offense, the fact that he has the innate missile penetration is just automatically really good. There's no conditions on it like Jaden's. It's just really solid. And then he can further reduce missile resistance on his his small damage skill. He'll probably use that a lot. He can also dispel, protect, and shell. He can break barriers. He can get by courage and re-raise with his extra shot. And he even has that defense penetration on his buff that he's always going to be using, but he is going to suffer from a lack of innate defense penetration. His new gun is going to have it, as well as some crit damage and some crit chance up. So that is a way you can get some for him. But just know that that's going to be 20 innate. And then, you'll have to hope you get this buff and it doesn't get dispelled and all that kind of stuff. He also has really good utility. So he has very high range. He's got the arcing shots. He's got a decreased movement for himself and also for the enemies, which is good to see. Very high accuracy, and he can also use a massive AoE that decreases the evasion rate of everybody it hits. So if you have an Earth team that doesn't have 100% hits, then Rulgia's not just going to be your accurate unit in the party, he's also going to help your other units reach that accuracy benchmark to actually hit your opponents, and that's a pretty cool thing. So like I mentioned, the AoE is just good in general for farming, or for taking out large groups. But his other thing that, I mean, it's kind of niche, but the healing, I actually really like to see that. I mean, Mastery's also got to heal. Maybe Earth has some shenanigans for guild battles where they can heal up for a second fight. It'd be kind of cool. When we talk about his survivability, he doesn't really have a lot of it. What's key here is the move down and the decreased chance of being targeted. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have any defense. He doesn't have any spirit. AoE resist, single target resist, no re-raise, no courage, anything of that kind. So that kind of takes us into the cons. And so with the cons, like I just said, his survivability is a bit lacking. The no innate defense penetration is a bit of a concern. And also the fact, now this isn't a huge deal, but when you're coming up against typed evasion, he doesn't have a 100% hit. That's really not the biggest complaint for me because his accuracy is so high, but these are the type of things that you look at and you say, okay, well, does a unit have a group of these important traits that we look for? And so he doesn't have some of those things that we kind of want to see. He doesn't have reflex, another common gunner / ranger type ability that is really key to their survivability. So there are some things that we can kind of worry about there. I also worry about his ability to play in the Earth team, and like I said, there's no Earth in peril for him. If someone else is providing it, then that's another story. But I also I think, I wonder if he's going to be that type that is, one-shotting people to be able to pop courage or re-raise and then use his extra attack. I don't think his damage is that high, so it kind of takes away one of the key parts of that skill, which is being able to negate courage and re-raise. Okay, so finally, I'd like to compare Rulgia to Alaya, and I think there's a few things that makes Alaya a little bit better than Rulgia. The fact that she has the innate defense penetration, the fact that she has frostbite, which can shut down certain teams. She has the elemental imperil on her own kit. She doesn't need anybody else to supply that, and then it helps the rest of her team. She buffs ice attack for her team as well, but besides that, she also has a bigger missile imperil. And am I missing anything? I mean, really, they have very comparable stats. So what it comes down to is that Alaya, she can also remove re-raise on one of her skills. And I just think that she's kind of better set up in the meta, better set up in an element to be successful compared to Rulgia. So when it comes down to it, I don't think anybody should be pulling for Rulgia right now. To summarize, I don't think anybody should be pulling for Rulgia right now unless you are a dedicated Earth main, because there's a lot of things on the horizon. There's powerful VCs coming up, a lot of collaboration characters, and Earth mains are going to be looking, of course, at Bradley as well. So if you're split between multiple elements, it's very difficult to say right now that this is a unit that's going to be super impactful for you. Now, the people that are really keen on the character, I always say the most important thing is that you like the character and that you want the character. So for example, if I just thought Rulgia was like the coolest character ever, I would just be pulling for them. That's how I make my decisions. But if we're looking at it from a meta standpoint, and from a kind of a roadmap standpoint of what's coming down the pipe, then I think this is a unit to skip. All right, so that's going to be it for this review, and it was kind of a bare bones review, so please forgive me for that. I will be doing my usual style of videos pretty quickly here. I just wanted to get something out to you all for this week, and so that you could enjoy some Mysidia content. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So if you did, welcome back. Please, if you feel like it, like the video. I mean, you made it this far into the video. And otherwise, I'll see you all soon enough. Maybe I'll be doing a video catching up on some should you pulls. But I have some other plans too, so we'll kind of see how that all goes. And then in the meantime, I'll be hopping along my apartment with my sprained big toe, and you'll hopefully be healthy and happy. And we'll see you in the next one.